I had gone to the doctor for years saying, gosh, I'm tired all the time. I have no energy. I could sleep 12 hours and wake up and still want to sleep. And with a lot of women, I think my doctor, who is not my doctor anymore, said, oh, well, you know, how much of that is you being a working mom with little kids and waking up early, you know, waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning to do your job. And so I kind of explained the fatigue away too. And after I was diagnosed with cancer and went through all my treatment and had NED, no evidence of disease, I wanted to figure out why at 41, when I ran a half marathon 6 months before and thought I was healthy, right. When I would go to the doctor, they would ask me questions. And I'm like, other than this cancer, I am totally healthy. I tried to figure out like what caused this. It was driving me crazy.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 172. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. And if she sounds irritated with me, it's because I made her restart this episode like 3 times because I kept screwing things up. So
ready doesn't mean ready. It means sorta.
It means sorta, kinda ready. So there's a little peek behind the curtain. I was working in another window on things getting ready and didn't realize in my Zoom I look like Kilroy.
I know.
Like it was, and so then I popped over if you started talking and I like wasn't on video at all. And so I'm like, well, for the people that watch us on video, clearly they want to see me.
Obviously, that's why they tune in.
Yeah, and so that's my gift to you.
Well, thank goodness you saved everybody.
Yes.
Whew.
I'm the hero. Not all heroes wear capes, honey.
It's true.
So let's just get right to it. What do you have in store for people this week? It is a pretty epic episode, I do believe.
I think so too. Rumors abound. We're gonna break down the new bike and new tread coming very soon.
Very soon. We have tons of info, and so we're going to kind of delineate what we know at this moment in time. Things are moving quickly.
Yes, and there is all kinds of new features that dropped this week. One for Android, which I was super excited about until 30 seconds later. We'll get to that later. I'll save my complaining. Don't worry. And then there's lots of fun stuff going on with the instructors. It's just a big week for news.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get them. You can find us while you're there. Be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
I have to break in and tell you, somebody sent me a message today and said that Cody Rigsby on one of his rides gave shameless plugs, and he said shameless plugs for his meditation classes, and they thought of you.
I would get mad at him for stealing it, but I stole it, so...
It's pretty common, but yeah. It was just, I thought it was cute. They thought of you.
Yes, that's very, very flattering. It's not very often people think of me while looking at Cody Rigsby. I can tell you that. So
I guess I didn't have to laugh so hard.
Yeah, no, that you really sold it. They believe you. They believe you. So, anywho, I don't feel so bad. I'm going to make you start over again. What do you think about that? No. So, where was I at in the shamelessly plugging?
You were, I don't know. I interrupted you.
Yes. Oh, we have a new review.
Ooh.
This is from Jesus Running Bachelor.
Ooh.
And they say, great Todd Phillips interview. So they stumbled upon an older one, which Todd Phillips, for people who don't remember, was the guy we interviewed who was trying to raise money to help Liberia have clean water.
That's right.
And he was stationed like on a barge for like however many days until they reached their financial goal.
With a Peloton.
And he had a Peloton with him. So we talked to him about that and about his goal and his love of Peloton and all that stuff. And they did reach their goal, but I'm sure they're helping other places. If you want to dig that up and donate money, I'm sure they take it.
Absolutely.
And he just says, I wanted to find Todd speaking somewhere, as I used to be one of the members of a church he pastored in D.C. over 10 years ago. It's a miracle the impact he and 1,000 others have had on Liberia. Love the way you both conducted this interview to find out lots of details and even bring in crass humor. You're welcome. I feel like I can take full credit for that
You can.
one.
Yeah, that's definitely a gift you have.
Yeah. So thanks for featuring Todd. And it's also nice that it's like we could talk to a pastor and I could still kind of be me and it didn't run this guy off. So
I agree.
That's great too.
That's lovely.
So thank you, Jesus Running Bachelor. I'm assuming that's probably your leaderboard name, but I don't know that for a fact. You didn't put a little pound sign in front of it. So anywho. Also, don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Every week, we will send you all the show notes with links to various articles and whatnot in a nice, concise format if you sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com. It's absolutely free and worth twice as much. So give that a look, if you will. And speaking of looking, if you just can't get enough of us and you want to see us do this instead of just listen to us do this, you can find us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout. And while you're there, subscribe too, because you'll get notifications when we post new episodes or when we post other videos sometimes. So that's a good way to check things out. So there's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Breaking news.
Holy smokes, there is all sorts of new information this week. The internet was all a buzz.
A buzz.
I was going to say a Twitter, but then there's Twitter, and Twitter's always a Twitter because it's Twitter. So information is starting to leak about the new bike and the new tread, and we've got tons of scoop. And then, of course, we're also bringing in John Mills because he's very wired into this world, and I'm sure has all sorts of interesting thoughts. Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Thank you both. It's exciting stuff, right?
Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I cannot think of anybody I would rather share this moment with than you. I mean, this is truly exciting.
Well,
and
thanks.
I know, I mean, you're a given, but like John gets it on the same level I get. Like
Sure.
he's just as excited
And
as I
actually
am.
uses this stuff.
Right. There's that.
Well, it's mutual. I thought the same.
Aw, thank you.
Thought the exact same.
So, all right. So here's what we're hearing. We're hearing that the smaller tread is going to be shorter, have a significantly smaller footprint. It's going to be good for apartment dwellers. And the monitor size, as we had previously heard through other articles, is going to be the same size as what's going to be on the bike. So we're looking at 23.5 inches. So
Which makes great sense for like manufacturing purposes on their end, that they can just mass produce the monitor and it plugs into both fitness devices.
absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea. And also from a tread perspective, you know, when I would go to the tread studio to take a class in studio, I always liked the low profile of that monitor.
You did?
When I got the tread, I thought, having that thing in front of me, the size, I love that too. But when you're at the studio, that low profile, I kind of liked it. And so this design makes me think that people are going to probably enjoy it.
That's great.
But I will also say, playing devil's advocate, you would expect a man to say, look, it's not necessarily about size, right? Like, it can work. Yeah.
Yeah, they set this up perfectly.
Yeah.
This is just some ingenious marketing.
So just to be clear, though, I mean, this is quite a reduction in size for the tread. I mean, 31 inches on that screen to 23.5. As a woman, size does matter. And
it's not a small increase. Some folks might have a little problem with that. But yeah, I think that it works. I think it works out perfect for the reasons that you guys stated. We don't know. We've heard reports that it's one specific manufacturer who's making the new bike and new tread. That's
Right.
Rexon.
Right.
So they got the exclusive, they're the exclusive maker. And if you're making the same monitor for both devices, it just seems logical. So,
And
it makes sense.
I will say, just anecdotally, from the people we talk to, we have talked to tons and tons of people who say that they really want to tread, and then when they see how big it is,
ooh, I don't want that
they're
thing.
like, especially people that live in big cities, that
Right.
they're in an apartment, space is at a premium, and
Right.
they see how big that tread is, and they're like, where am I going to put that thing? I'm giving up 4% of my available floor space.
And I think
Absolutely.
also overseas. You're all the countries that Peloton has moved into, Germany, the UK. I mean, those are. I don't think Canada really falls in this category because Canada's much bigger.
They got nothing but space up there.
Yeah. But European wise, they definitely need the space. So I think this will mean that the tread can actually be shipped to all these other places now.
And speaking of shipping, it probably also lowers their shipping costs.
That's right. I'm assuming it does. Two things on that thought. When I'm looking at these other devices and other categories of the connected fitness space, they're all trying to create these devices that work in a small space, right? Will operate in a smaller space. So from that perspective, it makes sense as well. And then also, we've all heard folks say, "Oh, I got the tread, but they couldn't get it up to the second floor or down to the basement." And so this kind of works in that scenario too. So to me, I think it makes a lot of sense. On top of the fact that it's lower cost, likely going to be half the price. So you just get a whole nother demographic. So yeah.
I wonder if at some point you'll see some sort of package deals of get a bike and a tread for X amount of money.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. I suspect that would be. And I've been talking to a lot of folks over the last few months, a lot of them waiting for this, saying, I just can't fork out $4K for that thing. And I want a tread, though. If with a lower price tread, I'd be in. So I'm going to wait and hold out. So I know there's a market for it. So
yeah. Well, and Peloton doesn't do anything if the numbers don't make sense. We know that.
Yes.
Android users. So.
Yes.
Dang.
I'm lucky on that front because I've got my Android phone and my personal phone. And then for work, they provide me this iPhone.
So you might as well use it.
Yes, I use it whenever there's these Peloton things that come out that are only on iPhone. Otherwise, it just sits in the corner.
Well, okay. So the other big thing that came out about the tread is that it's not going to have the slats. They're saying that it's still going to have some kind of similar cushiony thing, but it's going to be underneath that more what you would typically see as what is that called? A belt?
Right.
A belt on a treadmill. So I'm really curious about that because I love the slats on the tread.
And
that's a huge thing.
Not to be outdone, Peloton putting out a tread that utilizes a belt. I heard Echelon's putting out a tread that utilizes suspenders.
I like that one. That's a good. I'm going to use that. I'm really interested in this thing. I had an old Soul treadmill for years, and my knees are bad, and it was rough to run on. And so, like you said, Crystal, that the slats and the comfort of the slats is a big deal for me. So if they now have a belt-driven treadmill, but have incorporated in something else to give you that added cushion, that's pretty neat. So I'm really interested in that. The fact that it's a belt, though, we kind of knew. Jill Woodworth talked about that, a bunch of times. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm interested in the whole comfort and the cushion that they added.
Well, given how close you are to New York, you'll probably get to try it before I will. So we'll need a detailed breakdown of that.
So then I guess the next question would just be do we know when you can get it?
Yeah, so we are hearing that you're not going to be able to buy this for several months, that it's going to be probably around the first of the year that you're going to be able to get it, which I find interesting. But it matches up with the research that you had done earlier on with the articles that you found from Taiwan, right?
Yeah. An analyst from Tianfeng Securities, a famous one named Gui Mingqi, and he's famous for doing analysis relative to Apple products and making predictions, and sometimes he's way off, but sometimes he's dead on. This one, he was dead on. So in June, he's going, it's going to have a monitor that's 23.8 inches, and they're going to have the same monitor on the bike that's on the new tread, and they're going to announce it. He said they're going to announce it in the third quarter. It won't be a calendar year fourth quarter. They're going to announce it in the third quarter. He started talking about numbers and the numbers relative to how many treads would be shipped in 2020 versus the number of bikes, and bikes were far outnumbered the treads. So it made it look like, well, maybe they're not going to announce the tread at the same time. I mean, pretty much everything he said was spot on. Spot on.
That's crazy. Well, good to know that research is looking like it's
Looking
accurate.
like so far.
Yeah, so
And
far.
also, if you have to focus on which one, you know they're going to sell more bikes than treads.
Yeah.
And so it stands to reason that if you can only get one out in time for Christmas, you go with the bike. So speaking of, what do we know about the bike?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the bike. I'm pretty excited. Okay. So there's going to be a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to use this moment to break the news that I have made the decision, Tom, that I'm going to go ahead and buy an Apple Watch and an Apple phone. That will be as soon as the Apple 12 is released, the iPhone 12.
Right.
Okay. So I'm telling you that to tell you that this is huge, because now you're just going to be able to take your watch.
Lead story.
It really is.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to take your watch, just like, you do your Apple Pay, and you're just going to be able to tap it to the screen. Boom. Your heart rate magically shows. Like, that's going to be a thing.
That's right.
That's crazy. And I have no idea how rings work, but somehow it updates your rings. Do you have any words on that? Because I don't really understand it.
Well, I know a little bit about this. So the way the rings work is that if you like it,
oh no,
you put one on it. I thought this was common knowledge.
It's a little different for Apple.
Okay.
It's a little different.
Right.
I think the rings, they actually measure different metrics relative to your day. And so if you're trying to get in a certain number of steps in a day, the rings measure things like that. And so, yeah, if this thing is going to automatically update those things for you, I think that's pretty neat. That's pretty, for an Apple user and folks that are actually using an Apple Watch for that purpose.
It makes me wonder though. There's been some talk about how Apple is stepping into the connected fitness world or realm, and people were kind of like, is it just going to be an app, or will there be products? And you know how Apple loves to shut out competitors. So the fact that their software will work with Apple to that degree makes you think that maybe they're not coming out with a product.
Yeah, I thought that as well. When they came out with the information they've already kind of published, you get the impression that they're trying to stay in kind of the subscription kind of world. Mm-hmm. Like maybe they're not really going into a hardware world. They're just staying in that subscription world. And so that would align, that they're really not coming after a Peloton or a true competitor in the connected fitness space. So that would add up to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as far as the bike goes, here's what we know. It's going to have the same monitor as the tread. So we're moving from 21.5 inches to 23.5 inches. It might be 23.8. It's something like that.
Screen measuring is always a little wonky on that last little bit.
It is.
Right.
But the big news is that now it's going to swivel. So
that's crazy. Well, I love that. Because you've heard that so often.
Yes.
Folks saying, I got the bike. I'm trying to do some off-bike work. It'd be nice if I could swivel the screen. And then you've seen a lot of the competitors come out with their products, and then they sell the fact that, that Peloton, it doesn't swivel. But our monitor does.
They do. You're
and
right.
they say it just like that with that same face.
They kind of, Echelon does.
Just like that.
Echelon definitely does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one, when I heard that one, I thought that's pretty wild. That's an interesting one that I think a lot of folks would like. But that second thing, which I think you were about to go to, is the front-facing speakers in the subwoofer.
No, I had one more thing. I had one more thing to say about that, because this is brand new breaking news. You don't even know this yet. But we're going to post this tomorrow, so I figured since it'll be up on Friday, we can talk about it. So the bike boot camps definitely are coming. Definitely. Wow. And we know at least a couple of the instructors. So we know that it's going to be Cody Rigsby and Robin Arzon, and get ready to blow your mind, John Mills, Jess Sims.
Oh, snap. Oh, man. I'll be all in those classes. Specifically because running's tough. I love her boot camps. Running's tough. But boot camps from the bike, I'm in.
I think it's safe to say you're interested in the premium bike what I'm okay.
Well, and luckily Erica will let you buy it because your Peloton stock is doing so well.
You see that? Yes. Yes, it's some exciting stuff. I've been asking about some things I want to buy, but she hasn't been biting lately.
In a way, it's like Peloton bought you a bike.
That's true.
I didn't start like that. I didn't even buy it.
Right.
Peloton bought it.
Right.
Okay, so since you knew what I was going to talk about, and tell us about the new speaker. Tell us about that.
Well, I think that's an exciting thing, right? The front facing. I mean, and I've always thought it's a little odd as well, right? So you're riding and the sound is actually projecting away from the bike, right?
Yes.
And so in this scenario, now they have front facing speakers and a subwoofer. I'm assuming the sound quality is going to be much better, and you can probably have a better bass level, along with the fact that the sound is coming towards you. So, I mean, that's pretty cool as well. Makes me wonder, some of these capabilities, the monitor and some others we haven't talked about yet. I'm wondering also, what does this mean from an upgrade perspective? Like existing bikes, is there any type of, merging of these capabilities in the existing bikes, or is it just they're just disparate products?
Yeah.
And that's it?
It's funny you say that because I've had that question asked of me about 1 million times today, and this is my gut. I know nothing. This is just my gut that no, it's going to be premium versus regular because at least for a while, because they want the whole idea is that you have the better best model, and if everybody can have the best, then you don't have a better best model.
That makes sense.
And I don't know. That's just what I think.
Well, and I think it makes sense, especially if the plan here is to leave the new bike at the price point that you're used to paying and bring the cost down on the original bike, what we will now call the OB. But if you're bringing that price down, so now you take a product that that product is a phenomenon, right? And it's a phenomenon that you see once every 10 or 15 years in the world, right? It's like an iPhone or a pet rock.
Right.
No, it's better than a pet rock.
It's way better than
but you know
a
what I'm saying?
iPhone.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and so I think if you're saying that, the OB is now, that was a $2,200 bike is now $1,500, making that price point up, just saying, like, now the perceived value on that, because people know that they've sold a shit ton of those at that amount of money. Now it's like, that seems like the deal of the century. And if it means that my screen can't swivel, maybe I don't care about boot camps anyway, or I don't care about the soundbar so much because I'm going to wear headphones, or you know what I mean? Like these are all, I feel like these for the most part are, they're nice bells and whistles, but it doesn't affect your usage to the degree that you feel like you got completely cheated by having the OB.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, they're nice things, the front-facing speakers, slightly larger monitor, but it doesn't cheat the experience. Another thing I'm interested though in is relative to whatever this price point is going to be for the older bike, because we just saw Bowflex come out with their VeloCore bike, and they came out with 2 different price points as well. And their price points were $2,199, which kind of aligns with Peloton's better bike, and then $1,699, right? So I'm wondering if Peloton prices theirs below the $1,699, what does that do to perceived value?
Yeah.
Like, do they now have to do $1,699?
That's a great. I don't think that they feel this is just my feeling. I don't think Peloton thinks that any of these companies are really that strong of a competitor. Like, I don't get the sense that they're like, oh, we got to follow what you follow. Yeah. I suspect that if they do a different price point, Bowflex will change their pricing.
I think so too. So, John, were you asking essentially if they came in below, does it make the Peloton look cheap? Is that what
like if they come in, originally I was thinking, based on their numbers from last quarter. So it varies depending on, how much marketing they do and a lot of other factors. But based on their numbers last quarter, it cost them somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,200 to $1,300 to make the bike. And so everything on top of that, is profit. So I was wondering, well, they can't really come in below $1,300. So it'll be something above that, but it's probably not going to be much. Like, I was thinking $1,400, $1,500.
I agree.
I think that's a good question to ask. I think it's a fair point about, does it make your bike look almost too cheap, right?
Right.
Because I know that they felt like in the beginning that they had done that when John Foley talks about how when they raised the price, they actually sold more bikes. And I don't think that that's the case anymore. I think there was a period of time where if that bike was too expensive, you just think, what kind of janky contraption are you foisting upon me? But Peloton has commandeered the marketplace. I mean, they basically invented the marketplace and then dominate it, right? And I feel like, and people already know that people have a deep and abiding passion for this bike, right? I mean, just how many Echelon podcasts are there, right? And so I think if they drop this price, if they dropped it to $1,500, just totally spitballing, I don't think it makes the value look lesser. I think that it makes it an absolute no-brainer for anyone shopping based on price to go, if I can get a Peloton for less than I can get a Bowflex, well, that's just, why would I even, my research here is done. Take my money.
I was just going to say, based on the fact that John Foley has said so many times that they want their equipment, their features to be available to as many people as possible.
The democratization of connected fitness. Lowercase d, don't write me.
Yeah.
And that's where I am too, exactly where you guys are. Prior to that Bowflex announcement, I was thinking, well, the lower price bikes in the space are generally, some of them are like $9.99, $7.99. Like they get really, really cheap. Right. And I thought, well, Peloton's never going to go there. Right. And we don't want them to, because we want them to, we want them to be at a higher price point. And so my mindset was, they get down to $1,500, we're good. It matches. But the way when Bowflex announced, that was where my question first came, into bear. I'm thinking, well, they're trying to play themselves as being this more progressive bike. They're trying to play that similar space. And then your lower cost bike is $16.99. That's when it first came to my head. But I hear you. I mean, Peloton has created such a lead in the space. They've created such a name in the space. And so I'm hopeful that it doesn't play that way. And we see a bike that's around $1,500 so that we can truly democratize this. But we'll see.
We will. It will be interesting to see how the pricing works out. Wow. And we never even got to the other feature that you're going to be able to change the resistance based on what the instructor calls out. And my understanding is you can change it right on the screen. So you could turn it off. You can turn it on right. If you could be in mid-class and be like, I don't like that right now, I'm going to turn it off. Or you can turn it on mid-class. So that's going to be pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, that reminds you of like the Nordic Track, that S220i bike.
Yeah.
They can control like your incline.
But it's not going to go like this. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to raise up. I don't get the impression it'll raise up.
And I don't think that they can control resistance. I don't know. But but it reminds you of like that capability, like the instructor saying something and your bike is reacting to whatever their call out is. So that's pretty neat too. But yeah, it makes it much more valuable that the user can actually, readily kind of turn that on or off.
Yeah, because I know there's going to be people that are concerned about, especially when you're just starting out. That's not necessarily a great feature to turn on, Right.
Well, when I first started using the bike, that was a somewhat of a pain point for me in that I'm learning, I'm listening to the music, I'm figuring it all out. And sometimes I would miss, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be at?
Sure.
So early on, I may have wanted that feature. Now, when I go into classes, I'm listening, but a lot of times you're playing to your own kind of exercise regimen, what you're trying to get out of it, what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The newer riders might love this. This might be perfect for some riders.
That's true. I was thinking of a person who may not be ready for like 50 resistance day one, Get
into a Robin class and she's talking about 100 resistance. Yeah.
Let's go all the way. And you're like, what?
We're going all the way right now. No, we're going.
And you're like, abort,
I'll
press
just
the screen.
You go. I'll just wait here. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more to come about this in the next few days. It is exciting. I wanted to also ask you your thoughts on the stock market, because I know that you have put out, you've basically said, here's what I think is going to happen to the stock market. So I want to hear it. I mean,
I'm putting out all these bold predictions.
I know.
And then, people are going to be I'm going to get all kinds of weird mail if this stuff doesn't prove out to be so. But so I mean, I think that today the movement, yesterday the movement felt more like just momentum leading up to earnings.
Yeah.
Today, I think it was a combination of that, along with JP Morgan, raising their price target from 58 to 105. But along with it, them putting them on a list of stocks that they are like their A list, which include things like Facebook and Snap. So I think those two items drove what happened today. But man, I'm hopeful that it's only that, because the information that we're kind of hearing now in the rumor mill, I would like that to be the catalyst for kind of continued movement up, and this not be the catalyst for that.
I think the rumors are out there, right? But I think the rumors are at a level where the average person is not hearing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think we've seen
a normal person does not pay attention to the degree that we do.
Right. And so I think that, even some of the financial houses have a little bit of this information, but I don't think it's like trickled down to everyone who has Peloton stock. That's my take on it, for what it's worth.
So not knowing anything really about how the stock market works, at what point does a company start to think about doing a split? Like, what's the metric for that? Do you happen to know?
Yeah, I think generally when companies start thinking in those terms, they're looking at other companies in their common space, and they're looking at how they're priced, and they don't want to look too exorbitant above them, and they don't want to look too defeating like below them. So based on where they're falling, they may do a reverse stock split or a stock split just to get themselves in kind of a common stock price.
What's a reverse stock split? What's that?
A stock split would be you have 20 shares, and we're going to give you 5 for every 1 share you have. So then the next day, you instead of having 20,
you got 100.
You got 100.
Right.
Whereas a reverse would be the reverse of that. Today you have 100. Tomorrow you have 20.
Oh, okay. So you have fewer, but they're each worth more.
But now all of a sudden they're each worth more. And in either way, either the stock price now, if you did a stock split, is now lower because of it, or if you do a reverse, now the stock price is higher because of it.
Okay.
And so the companies use that to get their stock price in kind of a common area with their competitors. In this scenario, I don't really know that Peloton has any publicly traded like true competitors, right? Sure. Like the people that they're competing against, I guess Nautilus, but Nautilus is trading at like $10 a share. I don't know that they're trying to go there.
Yeah, I hope not.
Or Echelon, which is a private company, or an Icon, which is also private. I'm not sure that there's anybody like that would create a need for them to do this. Now, another reason that they might split is if the stock price got to a level like a Tesla, where you're trading in the thousands of dollars a share, and the folks that you're kind of looking to invest in your business just can't afford that.
Right.
And so then
you might do a stock split to kind of get it down to a level which would bring them in to invest. I don't see that either. So neither of those are scenarios I'm really thinking apply.
Okay.
At least not yet.
Just curious. I have no idea when companies start having those sorts of conversations. So that's interesting to know.
Wow.
Yeah, at some point that we may be talking about that, but I don't think this is the time. I mean, unless they're comparing themselves, to someone that I'm just not thinking of, like a Lululemon or someone. But I don't think they are.
Yeah.
I agree. But I could still see it happening in the future, because that stock's going to keep going up.
Yeah, this week, I've been putting out all these bold predictions. You know that, Crystal. And I'm like, you know what? Peloton's going to make money this quarter.
Yeah.
They're going to make like 20 million. And, net income, 20 million. Then I'm looking at like the market EPS, earnings per share estimate, and it's like 9 cents a share. And then I start doing the calculation, and that's like 19 million. You mean everybody already knows this? I'm the only one that didn't know. No one told me. The The whole world already knows this. I didn't.
Well, I didn't know because I didn't do the calculation. So you still educated me. And when you did your prediction, you were really close.
I should take it that way.
Exactly.
I was right.
Well,
even though it's published information.
We love it when you make bold predictions because if you get it right, you're John Mills from the Clip Out, and if you get it wrong, you're John Mills from Run, Lift, and Live.
You know, what this actually tells me, this is what my hope is that because I was so close in the market estimate, and the market estimate is generally wrong, that we're both wrong. Like, you know, it's going to be something other than 20 million.
But at least you were wrong in the same way that the smartest people in the industry are.
Yes, that's a win.
That is a win. And next Wednesday, when you join us, we'll have just listened to the earnings call.
Yes.
So we will have so much to talk about. I cannot wait. I'm sure you'll be listening.
Don't read through the list and go, John, you were wrong on this one and this one.
We're going to have a scoreboard up. It's going to be right behind me.
It's going to be like, you're going to be like Sylvia Brown, where we take all your predictions and then we put them in a vault for a year and then pull them back out. I'm like, okay, there we go.
No, you know what? I would never call you on that because honestly, it's very brave to it's hard to put yourself out there like that. And you have like real thought behind it. So regardless of whether you're right or wrong, you had a very logical way that you got there. So
that's right. There was a logical, I learned that as a kid. That's how I got out of trouble.
Yes.
I had to learn to come up with logical reasons why I stayed out too late.
Exactly.
Yeah. You probably should stay away from our kids.
No, you know what? I'd be fine if they applied a little logic to stuff.
Brian cannot come up with logic to save his life for something like that. Like he would. Now Sydney might.
She would weaponize it, but that's okay. Like I would still be okay with her using logic. In the long run,
logic will serve. You're right. You're right, Tom. Okay, you can teach them.
You can be around our children again. We allow it.
Well, I just meant you couldn't be around them to tell them about that.
Okay.
You could. You're welcome around our children. Now it sounds terrible.
The two things I'm really interested in hearing about from this earnings report. Number one, how much did they spend on marketing and advertising?
Because it's probably going to be little, right? Because I think compared to what they've been spending.
Right, because they normally spend somewhere around 35% of revenue. And so if they spend less, because this was all this period is all the core to the COVID, era, right? It's like, this is April through June. This is when it was all hitting.
Yeah.
And so if they cut that significantly, then all the estimates could be all off.
Right. Have they started their marketing back up yet? Do we know?
I don't know. I haven't seen much of any.
Yeah.
But I don't watch TV, so I mean, like real TV, if it's if it's recorded.
The only time I remember seeing Peloton in a commercial lately is within ads for other products. So like that Amazon ad that's running and stuff like that. So
same.
Right. I mean, ultimately, based on what I'm predicting, their quarterly revenues should be, they should have spent, if they were, going according to past, they should be spending upwards of like 200 million in revenue this quarter. But you cut from that, and that all then falls into the profit estimate. So but I just don't know how to play that. I don't know how much they spent on it. So we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see.
It will.
And from a marketing standpoint, they've reached that coveted space, I think, rarefied air that they don't have to explain what their brand is, right? Like there's certain brands that, when you see a commercial for Coke, they don't have to tell you, well, it's a carbonated beverage that's sweet. Like, you just know what Coke is. And I feel like Peloton has achieved that status in record time.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah. So,
point.
I mean, this may be the portion of the call that is, the information that is shocking or new, right? What they spent on marketing. I mean, even when you look at the analyst estimates, you look at that EPS, you look at what they're kind of thinking from a quarterly revenue perspective, it assumes same thing I assumed. It assumes 35% in marketing. So to me, that there is the big question. Like we'll see what they actually spent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this stuff. This was a lot of information to unpack.
Yes.
And we appreciate it. Until next week, besides the earnings call, where can people find you?
Oh, yes. They can find me on Facebook, Run, Lift, and Live page or Run, Lift, and Live group. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live, or they can find me on my webpage, runliftandlive.com.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Have a great night.
Always great talking to you guys.
You too.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. So switching gears, there's should be a new clothing line drop by the time people are hearing this, right?
Yeah, there should. The much anticipated September drop will be, the fall 1 drop will be occurring, according to what I've heard, on September 3rd. So yeah, by the time people hear this, it should be out. And I will have spent lots of money probably. I haven't spent any in the last couple, so I have. We're due.
No, you got to save that money for the new bike.
Well,
You got to save that money for the new bike.
we'll see. I got to have stuff to wear on the new bike.
Yeah, all the stuff you already have.
We'll talk.
I don't feel like we'll talk. I think I'll just suddenly pull stuff out of the mailbox, but okay. So
That's why I get the mail.
the advantages of working from home, you can beat me to the mail. The story sharing is now available for iOS only.
Yeah.
For your little ride things that I see on Facebook.
Yeah, it's really actually very cool because it shows the instructor and it's like they're moving. So you can,
that's
and so
cool.
it's really cool. You can also share hashtags. You can only share it on iOS. You can't share it from the bike. You can't share it from the tread. You can't share it from web. And of course, you can't share it from Android.
Okay. But you're not. But you're going to get an Apple device, you said. So now.
Yes, but I don't have it now.
So pretty soon you won't be making that face anymore. Or at least not about that.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find something else.
Yeah, I've no doubt. I had never doubted that.
You don't have to agree quite so quickly.
Well, now you know how I felt earlier. And Peloton instituted a health and wellness council.
Yeah, this is really cool. And we're going to be hearing a lot about this because basically they put together all of these amazing people in their fields, like top rated neurologist, for example, top rated sports like injury person. And they're going to look at Peloton's programming. And I don't know what the output is going to be from these conversations, but I think we can assume, given that it's Peloton, something cool, you know?
They have a pretty good track record of making, quote unquote, something cool.
They really do. And so I don't know where this will go, but I am really excited to find out about it.
So you've been really enjoying your strength training lately.
I have.
With your Tonal.
I have. I just started a brand new program called Muscle Building Burnout.
Yes.
And it does just that.
That explains the denim jacket.
I was reading about how when you're first starting out and you're building muscle, doing that burnout can be super important to increase like your endurance. And I think that it's going to be a game changer. This particular program will be yet another game changer for me. I can tell that I've gotten so much stronger. And I did a DEXA scan this week, and I found out that I'm fat.
Fatter than you would like to be. And so between the Peloton and the Tonal.
Yes. So between the Peloton and the Tonal, my hope is like over the next 6 months, I'm going to really watch what I'm eating and I'm going to really work on strength and kind of pull back on the really heavy cardio. So I'm still going to be using cardio because duh, but I'm not going to push my heart rate as much. So I'm really curious to see what those results are. And if you're interested in that, you can follow me on the other podcast. I'll talk a lot more about it. But, the thing that continues to amaze me about Tonal is they keep adding things. They just added, now you get PRs every time you go up in strength. There's this little like celebration on the screen and it's so cool and it's very motivating. I love seeing it go up. So,
and they've added form
feedback. It's
form feedback. So like if you're not doing it quite right, it gives you tips on how to do it more accurately.
It does.
That's pretty nifty as well.
Yeah.
So you can try Tonal 30 days risk-free. You can visit www.tonal.com for $100 off smart accessories when you use the promo code TheClipout at checkout. That's www.tonal.com, promo code TheClipout. Tonal, be your strongest. So I know you've been very frustrated with Peloton in regards to Android.
What made you think that?
Everything you've ever said.
Okay.
And there was recently an update to Android, and then this week there was yet another update to Android.
There was. So now whenever you're on your phone, you can click on a workout and see the details.
Okay. It's something.
It is something.
Like maybe
I think they're working on it. Like, I think it's going forward.
I'm like, maybe it's a sign that like they're starting to like, because you know what, they've brought in so many new users over the last 4 or 5 months, especially when COVID hit and their sales went through the roof, and then they did 3 months free on the app. So they probably brought in a lot of Android users, and they're probably worried about the whole goal of that, besides letting people be able to utilize their product for free during a stressful time, but also hoping that they would convert to either paying a monthly fee or purchasing a piece of hardware, right? And if all these Android people are like, I don't get what the big deal is, like that's counterproductive.
It is, and you can look at the reviews within the Play Store, and you can see that people are not happy.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen a Peloton product be rated less than 4 stars, and this one is.
Yeah.
So that really, I'm sure that Peloton, numbers based. That's probably what's driving it. But I'm glad to see something moving forward.
Absolutely.
I really am.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couple Therapy with Dr. Jenn or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn. She's got a long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy. She's also got an app called No More Diets. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jenn. Hi.
Hey.
And Peloton addict.
Yes, Peloton addict is my most important title.
So this week we wanted to talk about, I've heard this hypothetical concept about, I guess, couples where they both work out. It's a
thing.
Okay.
It's a thing.
It's something that really does happen, Tom, and I'm still hoping for it to happen in your household.
So
you and me both.
So let's just say this mythical couple. Let's call the one person Crystal, and we'll call the other one Snuffleupagus. What happens if they want to work out together, but somebody just doesn't want to do the other kind of workout, or they just have different goals that don't mesh? How can they kind of merge those two things?
Well, look, there are a lot of different factors. If Crystal and Snuffleupagus are at very different levels, what's going to have to happen is, let's just say hypothetically, Crystal were to be the more advanced athlete than Snuffleupagus.
Sure.
You might need to take her workouts down a few notches and really focus on the level of Snuffleupagus. Because if someone who is not a very experienced athlete and is not used to working out trains too hard, they're going to get injured. If they pick classes that are too advanced, they're going to be discouraged and they're not going to come back again. So what we'd want to do is have a couple in a situation like that really kind of play to the newer athlete, the newer workout partner of the two. So that's the first thing. And also what may need to happen in a situation like that is that Crystal works out with Snuffleupagus. Let's say they do a 5-minute core class and they really try to do a more basic class. And then maybe later, Crystal will do another 10 minutes on her own or whatever it is she usually does. Or if both Crystal and Snuffleupagus are taking a spin class, let's say they do a low impact 10 or 20 minute class, and then Crystal would work out later and do her harder workout. So it really is about kind of playing to the level of the person who's newer so that it's a positive experience and an encouraging experience. And then the other person can work out more later, but it's really about bringing the first person into the workout fold and helping them to feel encouraged and inspired instead of feeling really bad. And like, when you have a partner who's an advanced athlete feeling like, oh, she's so much better, or like, this is discouraging, or this sucks, or like, I feel bad about myself. We don't want that.
So taking it from that, what happens if the two people are both people that like to work out all the time, but they just don't have similar goals, and it's hard to find things that work together?
A few things. The first is sometimes, couples do what I call parallel play. Like, have you ever seen like two kids in a sandbox? Especially boys do more of this than girls typically. But like they're sitting in the sandbox and one is playing soldiers and the other is playing cars.
Right.
And they're side by side, they're enjoying each other's company. They feel like they're playing together, but they're really doing parallel play. Sometimes just being in the same room together, and let's say one person is doing weights and the other person is doing the bike, that's cool. That's still working out together. You don't have to do the same thing at the same time for it to count as working out together. And you can still encourage and inspire each other, even if you're doing different activities in the same room. The other thing is compromise. To either let's say one day one person picks the class or the activity and the next day the other person does. And I think that is a particularly great way to, especially if both people are into Peloton, but maybe one likes the tread and the other likes the bike, or one is into strength or one is into yoga. It's a really great way to diversify your workout, to discover new teachers, new classes, new activities that you might not otherwise, to become a more well-rounded athlete. And that benefits everybody. If you have a partner who, let's say, is a runner and you're into yoga and you're able to get your runner partner doing yoga, well, that's going to help their running, because now they're going to be stretching their muscles. They're going to have good balance. All of these things complement each other.
That's a really good point. That's
Absolutely.
A good point. Yeah.
So I have one more hypothetical for you before we go.
Yes.
So what if this partner, we'll call her Crystal, really loves her Peloton, but this other partner, we'll call them Snuffleupagus. What if they prefer Echelon? Now what?
Okay, that's a deal breaker. That's just.
What is Echelon? I don't know what Echelon is. What is it?
It legit is a complete copycat off of Peloton.
We make fun of them. It's a Peloton knockoff.
Oh my God. It's worse in the works. Oh my God. Like even NordicTrack, that's grounds for divorce.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's bad when the therapist is like, you're done here. You're free to go.
Yeah, there's
there's no saving that relationship.
It's not the first time I've heard a therapist tell me that, believe it or not. Well, I feel like after all that, I'd need to be like, today's episode is brought to you by the letter C for cookie. So before we go, where can people find you?
People can find me on my social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, at Dr. Jenn Mann. 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
My pleasure.
I'm sorry, Dr. Mann.
Peloton in the news.
Fortune magazine had an article about 40 under 40, and Robin Arzon made the list.
She did. She made the list for fitness, and it's just an honor. Like, to not talk about this would be just rude. I mean, it's just an honor. There's not a whole lot to say about it, but it's really freaking cool.
Yes, it's such a big. I mean, Fortune magazine, that's huge.
Yeah. And it highlights the achievements that she's done.
Yeah.
And it's pretty darn cool.
Not only her achievements, but also Peloton's, right? That
Absolutely.
Like a Peloton instructor is on the radar of something like Fortune magazine. It's just amazing how far they've come in such a short period of time.
Agreed.
And then finally, Matty is now an ambassador for Athlete Ally.
Yes, and I did not do it justice. He is technically a pro ambassador.
Oh.
My fault for not including the word.
Gotcha.
And it's a really neat program that works to provide access to all athletes, regardless of sexual orientation. And so I know that's something that is very near and dear to Matty's heart.
Sure.
So I think that's just a really great, cool thing that he's doing.
Absolutely.
Love Matty.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of Zoom Tube is local St. Louis personality. You've been around, I don't want to say around forever because then you sound really old, but you've been doing it for an appropriate amount of time for the age that you are, which is older than you look. Did I say that? That worked or
She
better?
had to think about it.
Yeah.
She's like, wait, did you
She's
just
like,
make it worse?
I'm sorry, I was told there would be no math. It's Jenn Myers from for local listeners from Y98. Hey, Jen, how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are I think, our second most patient guest ever. The only reason you don't get the first one is because there was someone who we lost the entire interview and had to do it again.
And they were very nice about it.
But you were very patient while we were dealing with this computer that we will not be using much longer.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I've had to do that before. I've had interviews where I've gone to hit stop and then I realized that it never recorded and it's bad feeling.
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so.
And we haven't had very many St. Louis people, so we're very excited to have somebody local that rides a Peloton. It's exciting.
Yeah, Tom and I talked years ago when you first started the podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I'll never ride a Peloton.
Yeah.
What?
You're like, oh, a podcast about Peloton. That's adorable. Anyway, do your review and get out.
Direct quote, right?
Yes. Just verbatim.
It's too sweet to say anything like that.
That's how they get you.
So I guess since you've already stated that you were not into Peloton, how did you make the circuitous route back to now you're riding Peloton?
Right. I'm sure all of the longtime Peloton people are just eye rolling because I'm one of those people who impulse purchased a Peloton during coronavirus. But I did it early on. So it was like the first week we were on lockdown and I went on the website and it said, due to increased volume, it might take a little bit longer to get your Peloton. And because we have a showroom here, I was like, okay, well, let's see how long it'll take. And then all of a sudden they said, we can get it to you in 7 days. Is that okay? And I was like, oh yeah. So I said to my husband, I was like, do you think this is crazy? Tell me this is crazy. And he's like, I'm not going to get in the way of your exercising and your mental health. And then later on, so then I bought it. And then later on, he's like, by the way, that was totally crazy. I didn't think it was a good idea, but I'm so glad you did it because he's totally hooked now too. So
that doesn't normally spread to the husbands.
From your perspective,
I'm just based on anecdotal evidence.
You're not a good sample.
I am quite the anecdote. Thank you very much.
So it was definitely a coronavirus purchase. And then, so also recently, I found out that you're a road rider as well. And you have an interesting story about that I would like to hear.
Yeah. Yes. So I have some friends who ride a lot and have been cyclists for a long time. And I got involved with a charity and was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I've been riding for a few years. And then my son during coronavirus, it was kind of like our weekend ritual. Every Saturday or Sunday, we'd go out, we'd ride like, I don't know how many miles. We'd like go and eat outside and have a little time together. And so, yeah, it was one of those things where we just kind of had to get outside of the house and have a little quality time. And at one point he looked at me one day when we came home and said, Mom, even when coronavirus is over, can we still do this? Aww. And it like melted my heart because he's getting into those tween years where you don't really get those moments anymore. So about a month ago, we went out and we were maybe a half a mile from our house when I hit the brakes, hit a patch of loose gravel, and I think broke on the left side more than the right and totally went over the handlebars. But luckily I broke my fall with my face. So
that's fast thinking. That's really smart.
Good instincts.
I hit first on my chin. And that was it's all happening so quickly, but also in slow motion at the same time. Yeah. And I could feel my jaw moving and doing things it wasn't supposed to do. And I wasn't really sure what was happening, but I knew it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And then luckily, this was the first time we had ever ventured out with a friend. So we were with a friend and her son. And I was like, oh God, I broke my jaw. I broke my jaw and I broke my wrist. And she said, how do you know? I'm like, well, because my jaw was kind of crooked.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah. So my husband picked me up and I said, we need to go to the hospital right now. So we went, I had CT scans and x-rays and I broke my jaw and I broke my wrist. So I just got my jaw. They just cut all of the wires, the rest of the wires off yesterday.
Wow.
But I had to have my jaw wired completely shut for 2 weeks. I've been on a liquid diet for over a month.
Could you not talk when you had your jaw wired shut like at all?
I could. So it kind of sounded like this. And I just had this just metal just tearing up my mouth.
Are you okay if we share some of the photos from your Facebook page?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to send it to you because you know how to do the share screen. Because
Yeah, some of them probably are not great. Luckily, I fell on my chin.
Unavailable.
I hit right here and then my jaw kind of went like this. So when I'm looking straight at you, you can't really see anything.
No.
But when I was talking to the oral surgeon, he did his residency in San Francisco where there were tons of cycling accidents. And in the ER and with the oral surgeon, people just kept saying, like, I've seen worse.
Really?
And when I went into the ER, they did all these scans. They put a neck brace on me right away and kept saying, does your neck hurt? And I'm like, no, my neck's fine. I knew exactly what was broken. And when they came back with all the x-rays and the CT scans, the doctor said, I can't believe you didn't break your neck.
Yeah.
And as soon as he said that, then everything became crystal clear. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be fine. Like, it's not going to be great. And looking back on it, it's, it was pretty brutal, but I just tried to remember, like, I can move both my hands. I can move both my legs. I'm not, oh yeah, look at that. So you can't see all the metal because I had all this wax over the metal because it was just tearing up my face.
yeah, I bet.
It looks so big.
And look at those eyebrows. Those eyebrows were pretty brutal too.
It was the pandemic. It's allowed.
I broke my left hand and I'm
so you
left-handed and I couldn't use a tweezer.
Oh.
Yeah, that's, whew.
That looks like it hurts a lot.
That was at the ER.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
That had to be scary.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, like, when you're talking about going over the handlebars and you could feel that happening, like you knew that something, like, it just sounds like you were so calm. It just sounds like you were just like, okay, yeah.
So your jaw was wired shut. Did you lose weight while you were wired shut for 2 weeks?
Yeah, like, how do you even eat enough? How do you eat enough liquids to, like, sustain you? What is, like? I had to
water things down because even there were some smoothies that I couldn't get through because my jaw was so tight.
Oh my God.
And so any sort of like fiber or anything I couldn't get through. I lost 10 pounds in the first 10 days.
Wow.
And it got to the point where I think I said something like, when I first had it wired shut, people are like, wow, that's a good weight loss trick. Some people do that to lose weight. And I was like, anyone who tells you can lose 10 pounds in 10 days, you just need to walk away from, because I couldn't even walk across the room. I had no energy.
That sounds terrible.
And you can tell, riding a Peloton, you know how much energy you need to go through a workout. And I just knew when I walked from one end of the living room to the other, and I had to sit down on the couch to catch my breath, that there was something really wrong.
Oh, man.
So I was drinking like full fat coconut milk smoothies with olive oil. And like, I just tried to get as many calories in a smoothie as I could.
Wow.
I would just be like chocolate shakes nonstop. Like why?
No.
That's not a calories, right? And it's healthy.
I know.
It's healthy in that setting. They can't even yell at you.
I know. I kind of wish I could have had milkshakes. So I'm dealing with this accident, but at the same time, I have stage 4 cancer. So trying to like eat healthy, not lose weight, and make sure that the cancer is okay at the same time was like this kind of weird thing
That's
that
a
was
lot to
going on.
balance.
That is a lot to juggle.
So
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So like, are you still battling cancer? Or are you officially in remission? What's your status?
So I currently have it. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016, and I had no evidence of disease for about a year and a half after I finished treatment. And the cancer then metastasized to my lungs in 2018. So I have some small tumors, and they treat them with targeted radiation as they are large enough to treat. But they were keeping such a close eye on me that some of them, the tumors that I have on my lungs right now, are millimeters wide and too small to treat.
Wow.
So that's good. And right before coronavirus, I had a CT scan, and my tumors had actually shrunk a little bit. So that was great news. And then I think the week before my accident, I had another CT scan, and they were stable. So I was, really excited. I felt like I was making good progress. I had the best 9 months of tests and CT scans that I had had since it metastasized to my lungs. And then this bike accident happened, and I was calm later on when I looked at it in perspective, but I was having a full on panic attack, hyperventilating, had to apologize to my friends saying, I'm sorry you saw me hit rock bottom. Because I was just like over and over, I was like, I can't have, when you have surgery, it kind of, your immune system takes a dip.
Right.
And that can mean that your tumors can grow. So I wasn't even thinking about these bones. I'm like, I don't care about these bones. I just can't have surgery. That's the doctor. And they were afraid that I was going to need surgery on my wrist and my jaw. I explained to them that when I had breast cancer, it was on my left side, and they removed all the lymph nodes in my arm. So I was kind of hesitant to have surgery. So they've been working with me on that. And then my jaw, actually the bone that broke was so small that they couldn't do surgery. So they just wired it shut.
Oh my goodness. That's, I can't believe that this only happened a month ago, and you're like so calm about all of this.
Dare I say chipper?
Yeah, it's like a funny story.
Yeah. Here's a funny anecdote about my phase 4 cancer. Yeah.
I've had a lot of time. I've had a lot of quiet, alone time to sit and reflect, and be with my thoughts here.
Well, your thoughts must be a lot kinder to you than mine are.
Well, so when I was first diagnosed with cancer, I was 41. When I turned 40, I had a mammogram. Everything was fine. I ran a half marathon that year to celebrate, I'm 40 and look what I'm, that was cute. I'm 40. I can still run a half marathon. And then 6 months later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was stage 3. It was aggressive. And that's the thing. A lot of women who are diagnosed at a younger age tend to have more aggressive forms of breast cancer. And so I started with chemotherapy. And while I was getting chemo, the cancer came back on my skin. So it was on my skin and in my lymph nodes, but it came back on my skin, which was really aggressive if you're having chemo and it's still growing.
Right.
So they did chemo and radiation then at the same time, which was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And I was in a really bad place when that happened. I would see, I would wake up in the middle of the night and just think about try and figure out what was going to happen. And I finally talked to someone. Luckily, I go to Siteman Cancer Center, and they're just amazing, but they have a free counseling service for cancer patients. And I remember going in there and talking to the counselor and just feeling really despondent. And she said, "What can you control?" And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "No, you can control showing up." And I said, "Well, that's a given." And she said, "No, a lot of people don't. They don't show up to appointments. They refuse treatment." And so she said, "This is what you can control. You can't control your cancer coming back. You can't control your own mortality, but you can control taking care of yourself, to putting yourself first so that you can be there for your kids. You can control showing up to appointments." And so that whole showing up mantra for me that kind of is when things turned around for me. And a lot of people who have breast cancer end up having something that's called post-traumatic growth, where after they go through cancer treatments, you appreciate things. You appreciate the small things on a larger scale. Little things like sunsets and getting to hug my kids at night. I don't take any of those things for granted, which I think was after they gave me something in my IV that stopped me from hyperventilating. I realized okay, I'm still here and these bones will heal. And one day I will look back on this and say this isn't that bad. And I feel like I've been through way worse. So I can do this. It's not going to be fun. I've been sitting around watching cooking shows for the last month, just making a list of all the food I'm going to eat.
That's essentially perverse. You can't eat and you're watching cooking shows. That's
like food porn.
Yeah, that's why I stopped watching porn when I was single. Why would you do that? Oh, I'm making her laugh, and she just got her jaw on wire.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
I know I still can't open it all the way, but it's all right. No, but I just I don't know why this happened. I have really crummy luck, I guess, but
so
trying to stay positive. I said to somebody, at the beginning, I was trying to stay positive, and I kept saying, it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse. And I think I was trying to convince myself of that, because looking back on it now, going back 4 weeks, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was awful. But if I sat around every day thinking about how awful it was, I think it would have made the pain and everything worse.
Well, they talk about how you have this tape in your head, and if you're saying negative things to yourself, it becomes, you're kind of doing the opposite, right? You're kind of bluffing yourself. And
during exercise, they tell you to smile because it literally helps your endorphins. So you were doing all the things you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I have a question about when you were diagnosed, and if this is too personal,
No.
I'm just curious. You said that you had a mammogram at 40, right? You checked that box. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But then 6 months later, you were diagnosed. So if you were clean at 40, what tipped you off 6 months later that something was up?
Great question.
Yeah, it was actually a little over a year after my first mammogram. It was about 6 months after I did that stupid half marathon.
Oh, sorry. I get the time.
No. And the answer is, I don't know. They didn't really know why. When I had my first mammogram, I had one of the 3D ultrasounds, which are newer when it comes to mammography. And I had some dense breast tissue, and I had some fibroid cysts, which apparently puts you at an increased risk for breast cancer later on. But I had no family history, no one in my family with cancer, period. So I don't know. I think I just drew the short straw.
How did you know something happened that made you go, I need to go to the doctor and get this checked out?
I could feel a lump.
Okay.
And and I've talked to some of my friends about it, because I just had a friend who had a mammogram, and she said, I have dense breast. Everything's normal, but I have dense breast tissue. And I said, well, don't worry. If you feel a lump, you will know. And she said, I don't think I'll know. It feels like a frozen pea underneath your skin.
What a great description.
So And no one had ever described it to me like that before. So for a little while, I was like, oh, this is nothing. Oh, this is like a frozen pea to me didn't equal a lump.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so I kind of explained it away, like, it'll go away, it'll go away. And then my husband said, will you call the damn doctor and just get it checked out?
This sounds familiar. Like I have someone, I don't want to name any names, but I have a wife that also does not like to go to the doctor, and I have to push her into it. It's a role reversal because normally it's the guy that won't go to the doctor. Every year I go to the doctor.
He is a good doctor goer.
Yeah, it's the one healthy thing I do.
Oh, I'm glad your husband was like, you need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, I'm busy and I'll get to it. He's like, no, call the doctor. And you said, so looking back on it, it kind of makes sense. I had gone to the doctor for years saying, gosh, I'm tired all the time. I have no energy. I could sleep 12 hours and wake up and still want to sleep. And with a lot of women, I think my doctor, who is not my doctor anymore, said, oh, well, you know, how much of that is you being a working mom with little kids and waking up early, you know, waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning to do your job. And so I kind of explained the fatigue away too. And after I was diagnosed with cancer and went through all my treatment and had NED, no evidence of disease, I wanted to figure out why at 41, when I ran a half marathon 6 months before and thought I was healthy, right. When I would go to the doctor, they would ask me questions. And I'm like, other than this cancer, I am totally healthy. I tried to figure out like what caused this. It was driving me crazy. So I started seeing a naturopathic doctor, and they ran all these tests, and I learned that I had a lot of inflammation. I had some food allergies, which is maybe another weird reason why I watch all these cooking shows, because I watch things that I can't watch them make things I can't eat anymore. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, which a lot of people treat like celiac disease.
Right.
So I had to cut out gluten, which is I mean, that was like, that was maybe a bigger loss than breaking my jaw, like cutting all the gluten out of my life.
Well, I guess breaking your jaw did technically cut gluten out of your life.
It did. And then, you know, as we would be doing all these different tests, then at one point my doctor said, let's see, with one of these markers, it seems like your body's still inflamed. Let's try not eating any dairy for like 3 months and then we'll test. And I would, every time one of these things would come up, I would say, that's fine. They're going to test. The blood work's going to be exactly the same. And then I can go back to eating cheese and eating ice cream. And my levels took a nosedive. So I was like, okay, apparently I can't have dairy anymore because dairy is, I have some sort of sensitivity to dairy.
Oh no.
So I've cut out some of these things from my diet. My diet's pretty strict now, but I've seen a difference in all of my CT scans and my tumors. They've stayed pretty stable. So the answer is, you know, I'm living with stage 4 cancer, but I feel better and I feel healthier than I did before I was diagnosed.
Well, that's fascinating.
It is. Wow.
So when you say that it's like the cancer in your lungs right now is like, it's just like super tiny and they really can't treat it. So is it just, they just watch it and see what happens? Is there a chance that because it's so small, eventually your body will knock it down? Or is it kind of like, it's always going to be there and you just got to keep it on your periphery?
Well, right now I get a CT scan every 3 months so they can check the size of the tumors. I'm on a maintenance drug that slows down the growth of any cancer cells, but it also slows down the growth of your healthy cells too. So my white blood cells and red blood cells are lower than the average person's, which is one of the reasons I bought a Peloton, because I realized that I was not going back into a gym anytime soon.
Sure.
And yeah, so they keep a close eye on it. And hopefully, I mean, I feel like every 6 months, there's a new cancer drug that comes out. So my goal is always like, don't think about what's going to happen 10 years from now. Think about what is going to come out 6 months from now that can maybe help.
That's a great outlook.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed when we have chats with people who are battling cancer, have battled cancer, or any kind of illness, difficult thing they've gone through. I find it amazing because so many people have this really positive outlook, and I just feel like everybody thinks that that's so easy, and I'm here to tell you it's not. Like it's not. I'm not a naturally positive person. I think of the worst case scenario with everything. And sorry, Tom.
It's because she's a project manager, right? Like I would say this to her all the time. It's a project manager. It's your job to find the worst case scenario and then prepare for it. Where I'm in marketing, so it's my job to be like, it'll probably be fine. Let's do that.
Right. You're like, Tom is like my husband. And I used to say, like, I don't understand why you worry about things that haven't even happened yet. And I would say, I worry because you don't. I have to worry for 2 people. I just used to worry about everything. And then it's so funny because all the things that I worried about never happened. And then I never worried about cancer. And it just, it blindsides you. So I realized like there's no point in worrying about things that haven't happened yet because they might not.
Yeah.
It's still hard with the cancer mindset. Like when every CT scan comes up, I warn my husband, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be really crabbed for the week before.
We interviewed one of our interviewees, Susie Barris, and she has clear scans now, but she was diagnosed with brain cancer. But every time she has a new scan, because she has to have hers very often, also, she calls it scanxiety, and I love that term.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would think that's probably exactly what you're describing, right? That it's like it's coming up. It could start all over again. You don't know what it's going to bring. You don't know what it's going to do.
Right.
So, yeah. You have to go through a roller coaster probably.
Yeah. It's just that is the unknown, the thing you can't control. And there were days where I would walk into the office feeling like, this is great. I can do this. And then the floor would drop out from underneath me. And then there were other times where I worried and everything was fine. There's no rhyme or reason. Like I can't worrying doesn't change the outcome.
Yeah.
But I still worry sometimes.
Sure, that's human nature. Like but also because, you're on radio locally, you host a very popular morning show, and you kind of did this in front of the whole world.
Yeah, that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, when I was first diagnosed, I knew I was going to have to be out for a while on medical leave. And I remember my bosses telling me, you don't have to talk about this. We can just say you're out. And I said, well, that puts my coworkers in a weird spot. Sure. But I also sat and talked with my friends and we said, what is the goal of this? And one of the goals for me was I was so young. I had no family history. There was so much that I learned after being diagnosed. And I thought, if I can get one woman who's been putting off a mammogram to get her mammogram, then it's worth talking about. And I feel like I don't feel like it was someone's plan to have me have cancer so I could talk about it on the radio, but it's one of those things like I do have a microphone in front of me every day. Right. And it would be a great disservice if I didn't talk about it. It's something like, let's talk about real stuff, real ugly stuff. And I did. And that first day, the phones rang and people said, I've been putting off my mammogram. I'm going to get it. A year after I was diagnosed, I wrote a blog about the 1-year anniversary and how there was so much uncertainty in my life and I was so worried, but I'm still here. And a woman said she had a lump in her breast and she read that article and everything she was afraid of, she was like, okay, Jenn did this. She's still here. I'm going to go get a mammogram, and she found out she had cancer and she caught it early.
Wow.
And things like that, I'm like, wow, okay. Because I just know, I mean, when I was diagnosed, it was my daughter's half birthday, which I blame the schools for, because they it's not a thing. But we started it with my son. He has a summer birthday, so they used to always celebrate his half birthday at school.
Yeah, that makes sense for the summer kids.
Yeah. But then, much like being the person who gives out full-size candy bars for Halloween, like, you have to realize that if you do it once, you have to commit long term. So I didn't really think it through. So then when my daughter wanted a half birthday as well. And I had my biopsy on a Monday, and it was a Thursday. It was her half birthday. We had just put the cake in the oven, and the phone rang, and it was my doctor telling me that I had cancer.
So
and
they tell you over the phone. Like, I always think that's I always assume that was a come into the office conversation. So they'll tell you over the phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was my OBGYN. So I had known him for a long time.
Gotcha.
And he called me about it. And, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I still have to get this damn cake out of the oven. And I think that's something else behind trying to stay positive with kids. You still have to get up and get out of bed and take care of them. If it weren't for them, I might have just stayed in bed every day. I don't know.
Kids,
but I had a 3.
They don't care. They're like, yeah, that bugs for you, Mom. Anyway, where are my socks?
Where's my cake, and why are there no sprinkles on it?
Yeah.
So my daughter, when I was diagnosed, my daughter was 3.5 and my son was 7. Well, actually he turned 7 a few weeks after that, but I was like, man, I have to be here for all the birthdays.
Yeah.
And now all these stupid, now I'm really committed to these half birthday cakes.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be making these till the end of time. Like, they're going to be 47 and a half, and I'm going to be baking them half birthday cakes.
Here's how you get out of that. Make them a gluten-free birthday. And they're like, I'm out. I'm good.
I know. I don't even remember what question. I'm just rambling.
Oh, we do that all the time.
Question was.
I can't tell you how many times we forget the question. So
We were talking about you experiencing all of this very publicly.
Right.
That's what started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think my kids were so young when it happened. And I realized that there are so many parents like me. You're so busy with work and kids and practices and just driving all over the place that you tend to put yourself last. Oh, I'll make that call to the doctor tomorrow. Oh, I forgot about it today. And I did that a lot. I would say, I'll do it when I get home from work. And then I would get home from work and I would have to pick the kids up from school. And once they were home, forget about it. And so it's embarrassing to say that part of the reason I put off calling the doctor was because I forgot and I didn't make myself a priority. And especially when you're young and you have an aggressive form of cancer, like, those days matter.
absolutely.
That's a good message to hear, because
Yeah.
I am absolutely guilty of that. And I know a lot of people.
I think everybody is
guilty
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Well, because
Absolutely.
I think also everybody has the mentality, and more often than not, you're right statistically, but everybody's got the mentality of, but not to me. Like,
Or-
this isn't going to happen to me. Like,
Or I
it'll
don't
be
wanna-
fine.
I don't want to overreact.
Right.
I don't want to make a big deal out of nothing. I don't want to go to the doctor and they're going to be like, "Phew,"
See, and that's where I'm different, because
I know.
will totally overreact.
You don't overreact.
I'm all about the overreact.
That's not true.
The hell is that supposed to be? I'm sorry. I just So
Yeah. How many times do you not want to go to the doctor? You're like, oh, I don't want to have to take a half day of work to go to the doctor. And they're just going to tell me it's nothing.
Right.
Like, that was another thing. It's like, I'm just going to waste a day where they're going to tell me it's nothing.
Exactly.
Like, do you know how many doctor's appointments I've had to go to now because I thought it was nothing? A lot.
And then,
a lot more than that one.
and then like at some point the doctor stops giving you a lollipop at the end. Like that.
I still ask for a sticker.
I think if they kept giving lollipops,
You think that would do it?
people would go more.
So you mentioned earlier that you thought it would probably be a while before you would go back to the gym. And I've been reading a lot of articles talking about how there's a lot of people that don't ever plan on going back to the gym. Now that you have your Peloton, where do you fall? Do you have a plan? Like, are you like definite in one camp or another?
I think just with my health and my suppressed immune system that I'll probably be one of the last people to until there's a vaccine. I probably won't go to a gym just to be safe. And I think all gyms are different. And in terms of, I think we're learning more every day in terms of safety protocols and what works and what doesn't. But the Peloton is a game changer. Yeah, like I didn't understand for a long time what the fuss was. But I knew I had so many friends who were passionate about it and loved it. And I don't even know, I think I saw the Peloton van in my neighborhood and I was like, and then a week later, everything shut down and I impulsively like bought a Peloton, not even having taken that many spin classes. I was more of a yoga person and I love it. I mean, I love it. At the beginning of COVID, it was the only thing I feel like that kept me sane because everything was so stressful and I would get on that bike for 20 or 30 minutes at night and it was just my stress reliever.
It's like you can let.
So it kept me from losing my mind.
Well, I'm curious, since you did yoga before, have you tried any of the Peloton yoga content?
I have a little bit. And now I know they have some that the whole family can do.
Yeah.
So my kids were really into that. I do a lot of the meditation too.
Yes.
What were you going to say about yoga, Tom?
No, I was just saying, so your kids were into that? That's cool.
Yeah, I think when they can join in, I think, although then I have to do a workout after they leave because most of the yoga with them is like,
yeah,
no, you're going to hurt yourself. No, not really. That's not really it. But I love the Peloton meditation.
Who's your favorite voice to listen to?
I love Aditi and Ross Rayburn.
Yes.
Those are, and I've done a few other ones, but they were the first two that I would listen to. I would do the sleep meditations at night. And then when I broke my jaw and my wrist and I couldn't be on the Peloton, but still addicted to it, I was doing the healing meditations.
Oh,
which really helped too.
Yeah.
I think those are good for just, if you're an athlete recovering, it kind of helps you with your mindset that the pain isn't, you can kind of like breathe through the pain a little bit.
That's smart. That was really smart. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that. I get a little too in my box sometimes. But meditations are great though, because I fall asleep before they're done and I love them.
I do too. I know you're supposed to sit upright and what's that?
I fall asleep before she starts them. I'm a quick fall.
He is. He can sleep anywhere.
I can fall asleep right now.
What are you trying to say?
No, I'm just saying I can fall asleep. I'm really good at it. I can fall asleep anywhere. My youngest son was like that, and I have when he was younger. I have a collection of photos of him falling asleep in weird places: grocery carts, laundry baskets,
assorted rock concerts,
like hockey game. Yeah.
No earplugs either.
Yeah.
The dude can just fall asleep anywhere.
Just be like, out. Yeah.
If you and your son are like that, they need to study you. Like, what is your body producing that if you could bottle that, you would be
rich,
a millionaire.
Yeah. I want it, whatever it is, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
It doesn't help being next to him, I'll tell you that.
Because I also snore.
Yeah, that's true.
So, who's your preferred instructor?
again, I think it always goes back to like the first ride you do or the first meditation that you listen to. When I first got my bike, one of my friends suggested some different instructors. And the first class I took was with Cody. And it was so fun. I mean, it didn't really feel like working out. And that's it for me. Like, I'm not I'm not working on like increasing my performance. You know, it's great if I PR, but I just want to have fun. I want to laugh a little bit. It's all for stress relief for me. And you get some exercise in too. That's a plus. So I love Cody. My husband, Alex Toussaint, is his guy. But every once in a while, I'm like, take a Cody ride. And he took the Britney Spears. He didn't realize he was taking a Britney Spears ride. But it was so great.
That's awesome.
I think your husband just tells you it's Alex Toussaint, so he doesn't have to say one of the female instructors.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm totally taking a ride with one of the guys.
Yeah,
honey.
What? They're female instructors?
I didn't even know.
Good that they're so diverse. I crossed my mind.
So how about?
But I don't know about you. Oh, I was sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's your interview.
No, I was going to ask Crystal. I don't know about you, but a lot of times I pick the class I'm going to take based on the music. Like
I'm
if
the
it's
opposite.
not a live ride,
It's funny.
playlist, and I'm like, yes or no.
Every once in a while, I'll be in that place where I'm in a certain mood and I need to go find something that matches that mood. But usually just picking an instructor based on my mood works. It really doesn't matter what class it is. You know, it's like if I'm in a mood to laugh and have fun, like you were just describing, for me, that's a Jen Sherman type of ride. And if I'm in a mood to like, I need to process my feelings and things like that, then Christine is your girl. And if I'm in a mood to have somebody kick my ass, then Robin, and it just depends. And then I just pick that person and enjoy whatever class they take. I really can take any class just about and enjoy it. There are very few times that I have taken a class and been like, that really didn't hit the spot. Very, very few times that's happened. I don't even think it's been like 3.
No, I don't think so either. But there are so many classes. You're like a kid in a candy store. Like, what class am I going to take?
Yeah, I hardly ever go back and take old classes. I always take new classes. And it's like, I have like a list going of things that I want to do. I'm actually this weekend on Sunday, I'm going to attempt to walk fast 26 miles on my treadmill. And I'm going to, we're going to see if this works. I don't know. And the whole point of that is I'm going to do Peloton class back to back to back. And there are like all these classes I haven't gotten to do on the tread. So I'm kind of excited about doing
So you're going to do a marathon on the tread with all these back to back classes.
That's the plan. Yes.
That's amazing.
Well, we'll see. Let's check in on Sunday afternoon. See how I'm doing.
You better, Tom, you're all about the snacks. You better get her some good snacks to eat while she's on the treadmill.
I told him he's my water boy.
Yeah, she's got them all laid out on the counter, and I'll bring them down in shifts. I've got a whole 5-minute routine about bringing her goo package.
Yes, he's got to bring goo packets
I'll bring you some goo.
Oh, Tom.
Like what? No. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh no,
the tip. Of the goo package.
So anyway. What about the Facebook communities? Have you been joining any of those, and what are your thoughts on them if you have?
Well, I'm part of the St. Louis Peloton page. You might have heard of it.
I have.
She started it.
Yeah. And so you've also interviewed, we have a mutual friend, Terry Grieg. And when I first told her I bought a Peloton, I was like, oh my gosh, I finally bought a Peloton. She had been talking about it too. She's like, oh, it's so great. You should join the St. Louis Facebook page. And I think within the first week I jumped, the whole St. Louis community did a ride together. And so I really love it. I haven't done I need to do more digging. I heard you talking about like people reselling Peloton clothes.
Yes.
So So
It's a thing.
that,
We're doing
I
that instead of
know.
a 401k.
right. I told my husband about it. I'm like, by the way, I think I found my new side hustle here. No, actually, I've been one of those people where I haven't bought any Peloton clothes yet. I look at them and I'm like, they're so cute. Do I really need this? And then I go back and like the next week they're gone. And it's apparently because they're being sold for 10 times more on these Facebook pages.
It kills me how much business the boutique does when I'm like, by virtue of definition, you're doing this at home. Like nobody's seeing you in this stuff.
It's true.
Should be down here in bicycles, like just
We like
bike
to look
gym
cute.
shorts.
We like to look cute, Tom. We like to look cute. And the thing is that we like to represent Pelotons. We love it. And it's just like she said, they're so cute. The clothes are amazing. They're so cute. I love them. But yeah, here's the thing is with the stuff, if you want to buy it, you literally have to buy it in the first hour or two when it comes out. So if you even think you want it,
It's like concert tickets.
you got to buy it. Put it in your cart,
Yes.
and don't just leave it in your cart because it can be taken out of your cart. You got to hit buy. And then when you buy it, if you don't want it, you can always send it back or resell it. That's what you got to have, that mindset.
Okay. This is good to know.
She's got all the tips.
I have all the tips.
I know.
Teaches a class.
I feel like Crystal's going to be my spiritual Peloton guru here.
I'm here for you anytime.
She's a lot of people's spiritual Peloton guru. So, do you care to share your leaderboard name, or do you want to keep that?
On the DL.
Yes.
No, it's spin, the number 2, and remission. Spin to remission.
Nice.
That's perfect.
That's appropriate.
It is.
Yeah.
Putting it out in the universe there.
Absolutely.
And do you have any advice for people who are just getting fit, like just starting their fitness journey?
Yeah, I think, it's when working out feels like a chore, you're not going to make it a habit. When it's fun, you look forward to it and you carve out time in your day. At least I feel like I do. So I try to make it fun. And I go back every once in a while and take one of the old classes that I've done just to see what my progress is. Because for a while, I just felt like, okay, I'm just going through the motions every day, like working really hard, but how do I know if I'm getting stronger? And then I took like the first ride I ever did, and just all I did was follow myself on the leaderboard and watch the gains that I had made. And I felt really proud. So like they say, it's taken a lot for me to hide that leaderboard because I get like so, but it really is like you're only in competition with yourself. And I learned that especially when I had my injury, because I know that I wanted to get back on the Peloton. And as soon as my doctor said it was okay, I was riding one-handed because my hand's still in but I know that exercise helps your body heal and repair. And I knew it was good for me to get back on the bike. But I mean, I looked at, I wasn't even close to my personal record.
You have to let the ego go.
Terrible.
That's hard.
And
That's hard.
and you probably had to pick classes where you didn't like the music, so you wouldn't try and sing along.
Yes. It was hard at the beginning because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't exhale through my mouth. Like it was so intense, and I'm trying to get all the air out, and my teeth were like blocking it. So that was that kind of restricted my exercise. but yeah, like you never know what somebody else is going through. So you might pass them on the leaderboard, but everyone's just going through their own stuff every day.
And everybody's bike's a little different too. So like,
totally.
It's all apples to oranges.
You could come over and try my bike, and you would probably find that it's different in some way, whether it be harder or easier than your bike. You would probably be shocked at how different it feels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're all a little different. So yeah, you can't put any stock in that ultimately, really. No. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you on social media?
On social media, on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Y98 Jen, and on Facebook, Jenn Myers, Myers.
And when do you start back up on the radio?
Monday.
Oh.
So you actually did this before you went back to radio. You just got the wires off today, right?
Yesterday.
I got it yesterday. Yeah.
So are you in trouble for talking to us first?
I don't know. Maybe
You have to
cut this part out.
We have to embargo this.
I'm not on the air on Monday, then you know.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
We won't be airing it until after you go back. You'll be safe. They won't know.
We're not that fast. So, and also real quick before we go, because obviously we most of our listeners are not in St. Louis. If people from other cities would like to listen to you on the radio, how can they do that online? Where can they find you?
Oh yeah. So they can listen to Y98 on the radio.com app. You can download it wherever you download your favorite apps. And it's Y98. And the morning show is The Wake Up with Jen and Tim.
Awesome.
And hopefully that will stop your bosses from being mad about you
just
having done
plug
this
your
first.
show.
We're trying to.
Thank you. Thank you. You saved me.
You're welcome. I'm a saver.
Thank you again, not only for doing this, but your patience.
Yes.
Oh, please. No, thank you for having me. I feel like I'm a Peloton newbie and I'm still learning from so many other people. So
Well, I feel like you have.
I'm sure some people are like, she knows nothing about Peloton. What a waste of time.
Maybe you don't know a lot about Peloton, but I think you had a lot of other important things to teach people.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about the community is they will embrace that. They are very loving community, except for the OPP. They don't count. The original the official Peloton page, they get kind of nasty over there. But in general, most people are wonderful and they are very loving and they're going to be supportive. They're going to be excited that you shared your story, and you're probably going to get messages from people randomly telling you how much they appreciate you. So
yeah.
Well, and I appreciate the community. That's another thing that I didn't realize. Like, I thought it was just going to be me on a bike. And man, like, there definitely is a community for sure. So
For sure.
Well, thank you again for spending so much time with us. Please enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend. And be careful if you go out there on the road.
Yes.
Yes, I know. Good luck on your treadmill marathon this weekend.
Thanks. I'm going to need it.
I'm going to need it. You know how many times I got to go up and down the stairs?
You're the real victim.
I'm the real hero here.
Oh my God. We'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I guess that brings this one to an end. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
We are going to talk to Donna Carr. Donna Carr was involved, she was affected by the Paradise Fire. That happened in California. And we're going to hear her story and how she's doing now and how she relates it all to Peloton. So
awesome.
Very cool.
So until then, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on the bike, and of course the tread at Clipout Crystal.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/The Clipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Check out our website, theclipout.com. While you're there, sign up for the newsletter so you can get all the articles and pictures and videos and whatnot sent to you in one weekly digest. And of course, don't forget our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout, where you can watch episodes in their entirety in all of their HD glory. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
Clip in.